Lesson 43, Simplifying Rational Expressions. Rational expressions are fractions with a variable in the denominator. And the denominator cannot equal, and we have this big blank right now. What can the denominator not be equal to? Well, whenever we are working with fractions, we never want the denominator to be equal to 0. Holy moly. I did not know. Let's see about this. Okay, we never want the denominator to be equal to 0 because we need to remember that that fraction bar means the same thing to divide, and we can never divide by a 0. We don't know how to divide by 0, so it's undefined. So we don't want the denominator to be equal to 0. It says determine values for which each rational expression is undefined. So, a rational expression will be undefined where the denominator is equal to 0. So, the denominator is always what's on the bottom of that fraction. So, I have that 3x is equal to 0. But I can simplify this further. And to do that, we would divide by 3 on both sides. Holy crap. Divide by 3 on both sides, and that means that the expression is undefined where x is equal to 0. Now we can do the same thing on the next one. I want to set this denominator equal to 0 because that's where it's undefined. So I have that x minus 7 is equal to 0. But I don't want to know the whole denominator is equal to 0. I want to know where it's going to be undefined, which is where x is going to cause the denominator to be 0. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides of that equal sign. And that leaves me with x is equal to 7. Now some of you may be able to look at this and see, well, x is being multiplied by 3 and anything times 0 will give us 0, so it's got to be 0. Or you could look at this one and see, well, I'm subtracting 7, so to get 0 this would have to be a positive 7. Absolutely true. This is how you show your work. On the last one, this would be undefined where, once again, that denominator is equal to 0. So I want you to find the value for x for which the expression is undefined on your own paper, please. Simplify each rational expression, determine undefined values. So, we've been working on factoring a little bit, and for us to simplify these, we're going to have to factor. So, on A, the top, I can factor a number out of both of these. I can't take an x because x isn't in both terms. So, the number that I can factor out of both is a 9. And if I take, and if I take 9 out, 27x divided by 9 will give me 3x plus 9 divided by 9 gives me 1 over x minus 10. So, this is simplified. I can't cancel anything because I don't have anything the same on top and bottom. And it wants us to determine the undefined values. And we can look at this and see it's going to be where x minus 10 is equal to 0. So I'm going to have to add 10 to both sides to get x by itself. So I get that x is 10. On the next one, same thing, I'm going to factor. And on this one, I can factor the numerator and the denominator. On example B, I can factor out of the numerator and the denominator. So in the numerator, the number that I can factor out of both is a 4. And I have x squared and x. So I'm going to take the smallest exponent of x, which is just going to be x to the first, or just x. And if I take 8x squared divided by 4x, that will give me 2x minus 4x divided by 4x gives me 1. Over, in the denominator, I can factor out again a 4 and an x. So I have 12x squared divided by 4x leaves me with 3x plus 8x divided by 4x leaves me with 2. So I can cancel 4's and I can cancel x's, which means that my final answer is going to be 2x minus 1 over 3x plus 2. And I'm not going to rewrite it because I'm having a heck of a time with my pen. So the only thing that I have left to do is to find my excluded values. Now, because I have my highest exponent down here is a 2, my degree is a 2, that means I'm going to have two values for x for which this is undefined. And, and the first one, I'm going to set this 4x equal to 0. So to get x by itself, we have to divide by 4, which leaves me with x equals 4. So that's my first one. And my other one is where this part is going to be set equal to 0. So I have 3x plus 2 equals 0. So to get x by itself, the first thing I must do is subtract 2 from both sides. Over. And this part cancels. So I have 3x equals negative 2. And to get x by itself, I need to divide by 3 on both sides. So I have that x is also, or that the expression is also undefined at x equals negative 2/3. Okay? Both of this part right here, and each of these are part of your answer. So on C, I would like for you to try that on your own paper. Pause the video and we'll go over it together in just a moment. So on C, I can factor a number out of both of those. I can factor a 2. And I have x squared and x, which means I can factor an x. And on the inside, 2x squared divided by 2x is going to leave me with x, minus 14x divided by 2x is going to leave me with 7. Over. On this one, I can factor out a 4. And I'm left with 4x divided by 4 leaves me with just x, minus 28 divided by 4 leaves me with 7. Now in this case, I can cancel these quantities, okay? And I can only do that if it's the entire quantity and it's being multiplied, okay? If it's just, I don't have a good example right now. If it was 4x minus 7 and x minus 7 on top, I can't cancel that because the 4 is being multiplied by the x, okay? It has to be the whole quantity that's being canceled. I can also reduce the 2 by 2 to a 1 and the 4 by 2 to a 2. So my final answer on this one, the most simplified version, is going to be x over 2. Now that being said, I still have to find where it is going to be undefined, and that is going to be where this x minus 7 is equal to 0. And to get x by itself, we add 7 to both sides. So I'm left with x equals 7. This is my final answer. The distance a car has traveled is equal to 8.1t plus 0.9t squared. It took 1.8 t squared seconds to travel that far. What is the velocity of the car in simplest form? So what we're going to do to help us solve this is the same thing that we've been doing all along. We're going to take that 8.1t, there's supposed to be 1 there, t plus 0.9 t squared, and I'm going to divide it by 1.8 t squared. So on the top, I can factor a 0.9 out of both. Okay, so if I do that, I have 0.9, and I can also take a t out of both. I'm going to have t out here. When I do that, I'm going to be left with 9. The t came out, so it's over here now, plus 0.9 divided by 0.9 is going to give me 1, and t squared divided by t leaves me with t, over. On the bottom, I just have that 1.8 t squared. So I can reduce these by 0.9 also. So 0.9 goes into 0.9 one time, and 0.9 goes into 1.8 two times. And I also have t to the first here, which I can move down and end up subtracting that 1, which leaves me with a final answer of 9 plus t over 2t. Now this is an example of what I cannot do to cancel. I can't cancel these t's because this t is being added with this 9. Okay, if they were being multiplied, I could cancel it, but it's not. It's being added, so I cannot cancel it. This is my final answer. So that's all I have for you tonight. I hope you've taken good notes, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.